actually kind of like doing list videos like these, so let's get started. Here are 10 allegedly interesting facts about me. Number 1. I hate buttons. I don't know what it is about them, but they just squeak me out, totally give me a Wiggins. I won't wear them if I can possibly help it, and looking at other people wearing them makes me mildly uncomfortable. This is actually a real thing, a phobia with a name I'll never be able to pronounce, and it's kind of rare. I really wish the suffix phobia didn't cover quite so much ground, because in my case it's more bleh than eek. But people hear phobia and they think you're in a fetal position under your covers. And one thing that has always kind of pissed me off is that to look quote-unquote nice, chances are very good that your outfit will incorporate them. Certainly for men, they're non-negotiable, and while thankfully that doesn't apply to me, I still have to look at them. So I avoid formal occasions just as hard as I possibly can. Number 2. My favorite band is Roxette. You may say you don't know them, but that's just because most people don't seem to realize which songs are theirs. Play a few and they'll say in a puzzled voice, "Those were all the same band?" Seriously, been there 1,000 times. Anyway, I got hold of their new album a few weeks early, and I hate to say it, but it mostly sucks. There's maybe 3 good songs on it, and the rest is meh, if not crap. They've changed their style a lot over the last few albums, and it's not the Roxette that made me a fan. Not anymore. Number 3. I'm a huge, huge fan of the 1980s. The music, the movies, the TV, most of the clothing, most of the hair, and the whole pop culture vibe. It was a very happy decade, very upbeat and fun. Oh, sure, politically it kinda sucked, but I was a kid. All I knew was that there were 2 Star Wars movies and a bunch of copycat sci-fi, some awesome, some not. There was new wave and hair metal, day-glow neon clothing, and John Hughes, some really kick-ass cartoon shows, my first exposure to George Carlin, my first computers, and the first 2 Roxette albums, though one of them was only available in Sweden and I didn't hear about it until much, much later. Even if those weren't my happiest days, they were certainly the most fun. Number 4. I didn't have my first drink until I was 25 years old. I just never really felt the need, and the few sips of beer I had were disgusting, so I just didn't. When a friend found out about that, I got dragged to an Irish pub and proceeded to be made shit-faced. 14 shots later, not kidding, and I'm barely even buzzed. My metabolism was berserk back then, and my alcohol tolerance was legendary. The reason why it's not anymore is a much longer story. Short version, I was fed way too much Everclear by a crush at a movie and booze party and ended up making The Exorcist look like a documentary. Haven't been able to drink more than 2 doubles ever since, and even that is too much. Number 5. In high school, I very seriously considered becoming a police officer, but mostly because the girl I was crushing on at the time was seriously thinking about it, and, well... So in high school, me, her, and her best friend, who was also my friend and for a while my girlfriend, all joined a police explorer post in high school, learned about being a cop from real cops, and that kind of convinced me that I didn't want to do it. Besides, my crush wasn't interested in me, so we just stayed friends. For the record, none of us became police officers. Incidentally, I have both of them on Facebook, and I post these videos to my wall. I don't know whether they watch them, but hi Autumn, hi Tracy. Number 6. Thanks to watching a double mauling of other kids at a babysitter's, we were all toddlers, I have a horrific fear of dogs. Terrifying. I mean, it's no wonder. We're talking about buckets of blood, ears hanging by flaps of skin, the horrifying shredding of 2 2-year-olds. Now, I don't know if it's true, but I'm told that watching an animal attack actually produces worse fears than being its victim. I couldn't say, I just know dogs freak me out. Number 7. I love cats, though. I've had 7 of them over the years, including my current kitty, Columbia. I've grown up with them around all the time, and unlike dogs, if they get snarky, they're puntable. Not that I would, but the point is that I can overpower a cat in the way I can't with a dog. So if I ever find myself being perforated by kitty claws, I can rather easily do something about it. Besides, I love the little snuggle muffins, and they tend to love me, so I love having them around. It's a most pleasant feedback loop. Number 8. I prefer Star Wars to Star Trek, and I always have, probably always will. However, I don't hate Trek. I don't think it has to be one or the other. In fact, if Trek wants to give Star Wars a run for its money, it only has to do one simple thing. Add in single-seat fighter craft like Star Wars has them. And I do mean just like Star Wars has them. Ships controlled with stick and throttle instead of a control panel. Fighter pilots as major characters. Think if it were Wedge Antilles and Rogue Squadron doing the Top Gun in space thing, only Star Trek style. 'Cause that, far more than the Jedi or Sith and the Force, is the part of Star Wars I always love best, the dogfighting, and the fight for freedom against a tyrannical empire. If Trek did that, I'd have a choice to make. And yes, I know, they have some sort of fighters in the Dominion War, but it's not the same. They don't have the traits I listed, so stop typing about them. And I know some of you already are, 'cause I know. It's just not what I'm asking for. Or they could center the show around a civilian ship like Firefly in the Trekverse. I'd watch that. Number 9. Thanks to having worked on video games for Disney, doing special effects for independent films, lettering the graphic novel based on one of those films, and that one appearance on Comedy Central, I am, in fact, in IMDb. And yeah, it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn here, but damn it, I'm proud of that fact. How many of you fuckers are in IMDb, huh? Number 10. I was adopted when I was 5 months old and know next to nothing about my birth parents. And, as it seems is quite common among adoptees, I developed some rather fanciful dreams about who they are. Now, you'd think that wishing your birth parents are deposed royalty who would one day come to take you back to rule the homeland would be the most common fantasy, but nope. It turns out that being convinced that your parents are space aliens who will take you back to the homeworld is far, far more common among adoptees. And I'm no exception. Had that little fantasy since my age was in the single digits, and I've never been able to completely shake it. Most of my friends say it's gotta be true. More than a few of them claim that they don't think I'm human, and they mean that as a compliment. And believe me, what I wouldn't give for a lift off this miserable rock. Ah well, it's all wishful thinking, isn't it? But if only, alas. Anyway, that's 10 facts about me, tagged and delivered. Until next time, fellow space travelers. Rating videos has been found to cause fresher breath, enhanced metabolism, and greater sexual magnetism.